What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Lakers Outsiders podcast. You might have heard there's some news. If you've been living under a rock, LeBron James is going to be a Los Angeles Laker. It's I still am not convinced. I'm just dreaming right now, and I'm not actually awake, but it's happening, and we're going to talk a lot about it. I am Gary Kester. I am joined today by Honi Ahmadian. Honi, LeBron, I guess, is the second most exciting deal of the day for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that I'm excited about the Lakers getting their second most sought after free agent, but it's even better that they got their big fish in JaVale McGee, Nevada legend, as I might add, and two-time NBA champion.
Yeah. All right, well, that's enough of that. Anyways, no Nevada talk on here.
Why does it make you upset that they're going to win the national championship this year? Or
that's a weird way to spell North Carolina, but it's okay. Speaking of North Carolina, North Carolina fan Jacob Root is also joining us today. Jacob,
Listen, I can't even be mad at you, but I'd wish you'd not test it.
I'm seeing how many lines I can cross with you on this podcast.
You said it. I don't know that it's ever going to set in that LeBron James is a Laker.
It's bizarre, man. Like I don't know. It's one of those things that maybe it won't like really hit me until I see him in a Laker jersey, like on opening day, opening night or whatever. Yeah.
Even then, I'm just going to assume it's one of Grant's photoshops. Like, God, this is unbelievable. This is amazing.
I mean, this is a historic day for the Lakers, for the NBA. I mean, one of the biggest free agent signings you're going to see. I mean, a lot of people thought LeBron would never go out west. They thought, he's going to stay in the East where he's easier path to the finals. And yeah, the leap of faith, I guess, Magic Johnson that he took is amazing. It's really amazing. But before we get started, I gotta plug our podcast. If you like the podcast, you can also always subscribe to us on YouTube and on iTunes. And on iTunes, it always really helps us if you leave a review for us. So that would be greatly appreciated. You can find all of our work on LakersOutsiders.com. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook. We also are starting to sell T-shirts, and I put the link to where you can get those T-shirts and you can buy them in the description here on the YouTube channel. So if you're interested in that, we've got a LeBron shirt already up and a little baby BI shirt. So be sure to go check those out. We're going to have more and more coming out. So definitely give those a look. But all right, let's get to it. LeBron James is going to be a Laker, barring a DeAndre Jordan situation a couple years ago, which would.
Why would you even bring that up?
I'm just trying to get Jacob just so upset at me.
Listen. Can't make me mad.
I'm losing Jacob. He's literally that mad that his connection cut out. But LeBron is a Laker. I think we all pretty much had the same reaction. I kind of scared our dog here because I was like yelling and clapping and like doing victory laps around my living room. Honi, I mean, what does this say, I guess, just about Magic Johnson and the new regime being able to pull this off without another superstar in the fold? At least, not one yet. Lakers have some potential guys like Lonzo Ball and Brandon Ingram, but they got LeBron on a 4-year deal, a 3+1. I mean, just what does that kind of all say to you in terms of the front office and the faith that LeBron already seemingly has in them?
Well, it says a lot of things. Basically, when Magic Johnson took over for Jim Buss and Rob Pelinka took over for Mitch Kupchak, some of the stuff that we kind of heard about right away was a lot of it was based on basically just their personalities, what they're being more charismatic than the other guys. And they're being able to sell free agents on a vision of what they're going to build the Lakers into. All of that stuff doesn't matter if you don't actually end up doing it, but basically every move that Magic and Pelinka have made so far has been a success. even the ones that were a little bit shaky at the beginning, like the D'Angelo Russell trade that a lot of us were upset with, now in hindsight looks great because it created the cap space that they needed to sign LeBron this summer. So all of their plans have kind of folded the exact way that they seem to anticipate. And the fact that Magic was able to convince LeBron to not only sign with the Lakers, but sign with a Lakers team that doesn't have another star right now, is filled with young players, and there's uncertainty about their being able to get another star. And then sign for 3 years and a player option at the end of that, and give that sort of commitment to the Lakers that you're going to be here for a long time, and they're going to build a contender around you. If not this year, then the year after that, or the year after that.
Right. And Jacob, I was kind of thinking about this earlier tonight, how well the Lakers are set up now, not only, for right now, obviously, whenever you sign the best player in the world, obviously you're going to elevate your team's status into a legit playoff team and maybe a possible title contender. Who knows? It's going to depend, I think, a lot on how the young guys improve the next season. But am I crazy for thinking the Lakers are, set up very, very well for the next, basically the length of LeBron's contract. And then by that time, you've got these young guys probably ready to take over by then, right?
We, after the news broke, we all kind of instantly got into a hangout. And I just kept reiterating, he signed for 3 years, like 3 guaranteed years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's still, that's the biggest thing for me. Everybody just assumed, myself included, that he was just going to do these 1+1 deals because it forces the front office to be proactive. It's what he did with the Cavs forever, basically. It speaks volumes about his belief in Magic and Rob that he signed for 3 guaranteed years. Like Honi said, they've made a lot of moves that we didn't agree with. I give them 100% kudos. They deserve all the praise you could possibly give upon them. The plan was bold, but Magic said he was betting on himself. He went to LeBron's house last night betting on himself, and he pulled it off. And now the Lakers are in incredible shape. Either they trade for Kawhi, which I believe we're going to talk about. They trade for Kawhi now. They lock him up long term, and Kawhi kind of takes over once LeBron leaves.
There's fireworks in Los Angeles, by the way.
I'm sure they're related to LeBron. Or he just rides it out this year. The Lakers have done all these deals with the ability to create max cap space next summer, and you just sign Kawhi. It's a lot different to go into a free agency like this year where you're telling Paul George, hey, come and join this up-and-coming team, and hopefully we'll make the playoffs, and hopefully we'll get someone else, rather than, hey, you want to come team up with LeBron? And that's huge. That's what 3 guaranteed years does, because now you walk into free agency pitches and saying, hey, we have the best player in the history of basketball on our team. What do you think of playing with him?
Yeah,
and that changes everything. That changes. We have all the leverage now.
Yeah.
It's amazing what a difference 24 hours can make, right? Last night, first night of free agency, we got fireworks going off. I'll allow it, man. We'll allow anything today. But no, Paul George re-ups with the Thunder, doesn't even give the Lakers a meeting. Then it just seems like there's so much pressure to get LeBron, right? Like if they don't get LeBron now, they were gearing up for this free agency. And if they don't get either of those two guys, a lot of people would look at that as a huge failure. For me, I would have been totally fine if they whiffed on those guys and they ran it back basically with the same team and just watched the young guys get better and so on and so forth. But they got it done. It's just like we said. It's something that's not really going to sit in with me, I guess, for a while, just because it's amazing to me that LeBron is a Laker. But Honi, I guess, what do you think was just kind of the thing that really got LeBron to come to the Lakers? I mean, there's probably a lot of different factors, but I mean, I guess what ultimately brought him to the Lakers?
Well, it seems like during this whole process that basketball, while still important to LeBron, obviously, because he's the greatest player in the world, was kind of taking a step back, and he was a lot more concerned about his family, the lifestyle, etc. The Lakers obviously have great location in LA. LeBron has been really invested in the entertainment industry and a bunch of other businesses. Coming to LA helps him kind of work on that during the season, unlike before then when he would only be here during the off season. And obviously it's a great place for him to help raise his kids and for his wife to be. But even having said all that, there were other great situations around the league. And I do believe that LeBron did have hesitations about joining the Lakers because he wasn't sure about their ability to contend with the Warriors. But getting in a room with Magic Johnson seems like it right now that's a hell of a sell to anybody, because he was able to basically convince LeBron that even if we can't build you the perfect contender right now, we're not going to rush into anything, but we're going to be able to build a team around you in the near future, and you're going to be able to still compete for titles while living in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a lot of reports out there that LeBron basically wants to build an empire, kind of on and off the court with his business ventures and so on and so forth. And I mean, what better person to talk to than Magic Johnson, right? And with that, I mean, Magic is a very, very successful businessman. His ownership, he was part of a group that owns the Dodgers, and they've had a tremendous turnaround since that happened. And I mean, just his various business ventures and just how much success that Magic has had both on and off the court. I think LeBron probably saw that, I mean, and just could relate to that, because that's kind of a similar type of thing he's trying to accomplish himself, for the rest of his playing career and then after his playing career. So, I think this was a moment where having Magic Johnson be the one to sell to him was, I mean, you couldn't have had somebody better. And I think, Jacob, and you can, I mean, expand on this, the relationship that, is kind of very publicly known between LeBron and Cavs owner Dan Gilbert, who I will tip my cap to him for his statement that he just released via the Cavaliers. That it was a well-written statement, which is why I'm convinced somebody else wrote it. But Dan Gilbert can take credit for it, I guess. It's got his name attached to it. But Jacob, I mean, that relationship had to really, really help the Lakers here, right?
First, I have to imagine that Dan Gilbert immediately went running to his laptop to open up a Word document and like Comic Sans to start writing, and like there was like this struggle to get the laptop away from him so he wouldn't do it again. No, but I mean, seriously, with Magic, it's been said a couple times, but there are a few people, let alone like athletes, that can relate to LeBron James, both on and off the court, and Magic is one of them. Mm-hmm. Which it made a huge, huge difference. There's a lot of other things you can get into in comparing Magic and LeBron, or Magic and Dan Gilbert. LeBron liked the social activism that Magic did. Yeah. I know that was reported, and I know that played a big deal. Yeah. And it's stuff like that where he can relate so much more with Magic than he could Dan Gilbert, as well as I think Honi said, the off the court stuff, the building an empire, the getting involved in kind of the entertainment side, as Pete sources would tell you. Just stuff like that. I think it was just this huge, like, perfect storm of stuff. And I mean, we're talking a lot about the off the court stuff. None of this happens if the Lakers are a 17-win team next year or last year, as opposed to a 35-win team. Like, kudos to Luke, to all the young guys, because that was important. I'd have to think. I don't know that it was necessarily the most important thing, but this is an entirely different conversation, and one we're probably not having if the Lakers are even just like a 25-win team again.
Yeah.
So kudos to them, but yeah, I think it was just a perfect storm of on the court, off the court, the owner that the Lakers had versus the owner that the Cavs had. Just a bunch of stuff like that played out perfectly for the Lakers.
Yeah, the progress on the court, I think, certainly helped. You know, they had to be able to show, and that was kind of our thing all year was, you know, wanting to see the team improve and get better so that it could be actually used as a selling point in free agency. You know, this time or last year, you know, they were trying to sell a 26-win team. You know, they obviously were adding Lonzo Ball and they added Brook Lopez via trade. So, but they also weren't as aggressive last year in free agency. They were basically saving for this summer. And, but yeah, like you said, Jacob, that progress on the court, I think really, really helped. Luke Walton showed a lot this year, a lot of improvement from him as well. You mentioned the relationship between LeBron and Magic Johnson. I think the relationship between LeBron and Jeanie Buss also kind of helps too. Absolutely. Having that owner that, you know, he can already have trust in. And I think Dave McMenamin of ESPN brought this up I was watching on SportsCenter earlier, but this kind of gesture to sign a 4-year deal kind of almost signifies that LeBron already has more faith in the Lakers front office than he really ever had with Cleveland's. Yeah. You know, because he kept signing those 1+1 deals, and then after they won the title, he gave him a 2+1, and then obviously opted out and just signed is going to sign with the Lakers now. So yeah, it's really kind of amazing that I guess the trust in that relationship already. I mean, it's July 1st, and we're able to say that.
Honestly, there was a story that came out today that LeBron's camp during the season, once David Fizdale was fired from Memphis, apparently asked the Lakers to basically fire Luke Walton and hire Fizdale in his place. And that was something that was reported at the time as well. It wasn't reported that LeBron's camp was saying it, but it was reported that the Lakers were thinking about it. But according to what we heard today and we wrote up on the site, Jeanie Buss basically held firm, said we're not going to do that because we believe in Luke. And I'm guessing she wanted to kind of hedge their bets in case LeBron didn't come, that they would still have the continuity with Luke and the kids. But the fact that she was able to hold firm on that and that LeBron was still willing to say yes, again, speaks to what you were saying about the trust that he has towards her and the rest of the front office.
Yeah. Yeah, no. And I mean, it would have been a really, really bad look too, to get rid of Luke Walton after how much the team improved this season and how competitive they were. I mean, a lot of people look at the Lakers and say, oh, they were 35-47 last year. I mean, a lot of those losses were competitive losses, which was a step up from a year ago when there were just, I mean, they were 26-56, and just a lot of those were blowout losses, not really competitive. They had a lot of ups and downs, and I felt like this year's team was a lot more consistent in terms of a competitive standpoint. And they also endured a lot of injuries to key players. You know, if this is a team that stays healthy, I mean, I think we're at least looking at a team that probably finished about 500. You know, probably 5 or 6 wins better. Like if guys like Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball stay healthy. So I think the Lakers last year were a little bit better than people want to give them credit for, which is why I think that they could be better next year than a lot of people think, even with LeBron in the fold. And we'll talk about that later on. But Jacob, I guess the Lakers have been in talks with Kawhi Leonard, or with the Spurs, about trading for Kawhi Leonard. Sorry, Pacers, we haven't been talking to Kawhi Leonard. Like, settle down with your tampering charges. But I guess, does this change anything for you? I mean, we just watched. So, I mean, we dealt with this with Paul George last year, right? Where it was, every report was he is going to the Lakers. It doesn't matter who trades for him. He's going to play 1 year, and then he's going to go there. And then they didn't even get a meeting. I guess, does signing LeBron change your stance? Do you think they need to go after him hard now to give, LeBron that other superstar next to him? Or do you think, they have LeBron now so they can wait and roll the dice again and hope that it turns out better?
Um, I'm kind of two minds about this. On the one hand, I mean, you go after him now, and you're a title contender. You get him. But also, as we've said, um, the Lakers have all the leverage now. All this, I mean, the Spurs' big thing was like, oh, there's pressure on the Lakers because LeBron won't commit unless they get Kawhi. And even if LeBron commits and it's a 1-1, it's, well, the Lakers have to prove to LeBron that they're a contender. And that's why I keep harping on it, but it's stuff like that's why this 3 years guaranteed is such a huge deal. Because, I mean, what's the Spurs' leverage now? Kawhi doesn't want to play. I hate that I'm about to say this, but according to Stephen A., he's willing to sit out the whole year.
Yeah, boy.
Which take that for what you will, because Stephen A. is an idiot. And Kawhi said he wants to come to the Lakers, and the Lakers have the cap space to do it. Like, I don't know. I don't know how the Spurs have any leverage here. So in that regard, you don't have to trade. Like, Ingram and Ball are totally off the table for me now.
Mm-hmm.
And Kuzma would be iffy. Maybe, yeah, probably Kuzma, but still, like, you have all the leverage here. So I honestly could go either way. I really don't. I'd be fine with it either way. I really don't know what the Lakers are going to do. I interpret some of the moves they made. They signed a lot of wing players when they had a lot of wing depth. So maybe they're anticipating a trade with the Spurs. I don't know. I saw that question a couple times in our mentions today as we were reporting them signing KCP and Lance. It's how do you give playing time to Lance and KCP and Hart and Ingram and Kuzma and Svi and Lonzo? And it's like, well, LeBron will play small ball, but also this could easily be setting up for a trade with the Spurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tweeted the other day that if the Lakers got LeBron, that they needed to go after Kawhi Leonard. But I also didn't expect LeBron to sign a 4-year deal with the Lakers, showing faith that they, will get stuff done and give them time to just work and to go get other guys. And he's kind of playing the long game, which is amazing because he's going to be 34 in December. But, I mean, he really hasn't slowed down at all. So, I mean, maybe that's just LeBron betting on himself to be able to really elevate a team. But, I mean, Honi, I guess what's your stance on this now? I mean, are you more you have to learn from your mistake on what happened with Paul George, or, are you more we can be patient because Lakers have an awesome, selling point with LeBron James on the roster already?
It's definitely a really tough decision because on one hand, to me, you go after a guy like Kawhi because, like Jacob said, it turns you into a title contender. And with the Warriors being as amazing as they are and the Rockets still being pretty much as good as they were last year, minus Trevor Ariza leaving, you basically want to give yourself as many opportunities to beat those teams to get to the finals and probably win a title as you can. Just because you never know what happens. A guy gets injured, a team misses 27 3-pointers in one game in a row, or whatever. So you kind of want to give yourself those opportunities. So for me, the Lakers should be pretty aggressive in trying to get Kawhi. But I also do think that there needs to be a line drawn. I'm not exactly sure what that line should be, but there should be a point where they say, we're not offering you anything more than this. We dare you not to trade Kawhi and either try to get a better offer from a team that's going to be scared about Kawhi being a rental, or not trade him at all and have him be in your locker room sulking the entire year and potentially sitting out the season and not playing at all.
Yeah, and the Spurs just can't afford to do it because, I mean, who's going to want to play there after, they do something like that? Like a guy that got you a championship, was a finals MVP, and that was how you repay him when he was unhappy? I mean, that would be such an awful look.
It's already been an awful look for them for how they've handled his injury, how they handled Tony Parker, Lakers legend, talking about his injury. Like, all of that has been a really bad look. And yeah, you're right. If they keep doing, and the fact that, LaMarcus Aldridge wanted out last year, they were able to convince him. But, there is some weird stuff going on there. You don't know how long Popovich is going to be coaching in San Antonio. So it definitely does not look like a destination for a lot of people. So the best thing the Spurs could do is basically cut their losses, move on from Kawhi, and rebuild, and hope that you can kind of fix your image as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And well, I was just going to add one thing. That line, definitely, I basically agree with what Honi says. You can be aggressive up to just draw the line, like up to this point. But I mean, this morning it was reported, feels like an eternity ago, the Sixers weren't offering Simmons, Embiid, or Fultz. Which, if that's the case, I mean, Ingram would by far be the best player available prospect-wise. I would take him off the table. I think Kuzma would still be better than Saric or whatever the Celtics are going to – Yabusele, or however you say it, whatever awful offer they're going to give him. I still think Kuzma is the best one. But, yeah, I think at this point you almost have to, like you said, cut your losses. And I think today probably should be an eye-opener to them that the longer they wait, the more leverage they're losing. Yeah. And that they need to do something now.
Yeah, I mean, if we said before that the Spurs really had no leverage here, and I mean, if you didn't believe that, I mean, you should now, because the Jacob, like you mentioned, the whole thing was the Spurs believed if we get you Kawhi, then you'll get LeBron, and that's not the case anymore. I mean, LeBron is a Laker, and I just don't see. I think the Spurs tried different ways to kind of drum up a little bit of leverage by some outside noise and starting leaking some information and stuff like that. But I mean, that's gone. And the Lakers, I mean, basically just echoing what you guys said. If I were them, I would be aggressive to try and go get Kawhi. But at this point, I am not offering Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, or Kyle Kuzma. Like, I'm going to play hardball here, because guess what? The best player in the world's in our back pocket now. Like, he's just going to be in purple and gold next year. Like, that's the ultimate insurance policy. And especially if it's, I mean, it's been reported, I think Ramona Shelburne was saying that basically LeBron, is coming aboard, letting it be known to the Lakers that, they don't have to go get a guy right now. Like, he is willing to be patient with this, and, understands that the team is a playoff team probably right now, assuming, they keep a relatively clean bill of health. And, yeah, the fact that LeBron's willing to be patient with it gives the Lakers so much to work with, that they don't have to be, a little antsy and offer the farm to go get Kawhi just to make LeBron happy. You can be patient, and if another team wants to roll the dice on Kawhi, more power to them. I think it's different this time than the Paul George thing, because Paul George and Russell Westbrook really hit it off. Kawhi Leonard, it's just different. Like, the Lakers can sell to free agents because, I mean, their other deals, which we'll talk about here in a second, are 1-year deals. So they still have that flexibility moving forward and can sell, hey, we've got a max slot and we have LeBron James, with all these young guys still in the books. I mean, for a guy like Kawhi Leonard, if he just signs as a free agent next summer, and just, the Lakers don't give anything up for him, yeah, that's a title contender. And they might honestly have it. I mean, they would have a legit shot to dethrone the Warriors if the Warriors, win it again next year. But yeah,
I'm
I mean,
also roasting the hell out of the Spurs if they just let Kawhi walk and we get him.
yeah. Well, if they make him go through that situation again, that would just be unreal.
Yeah.
Good luck ever getting a free agent.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's my stance on Kawhi has traded or has changed in about 2 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm willing to I'm just willing to wait for him, I guess, because I think it's different this time. I having LeBron just changes everything. But at the same time, I'd still try and go after him, but it's got to be for the right price. That's
Right.
I mean, that's just the bottom line to it. So, all right. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to add on Kawhi before we talk about Honi's boy and the other two free agents?
Well, I mean, I'm really excited about JaVale just because he is a Nevada legend. So,
Honi, I
I'm
asked
ready to
about
talk about
Kawhi Leonard.
No, I know. I'm just saying I'm ready to talk about JaVale.
All right. I guess we'll do that. All right. So also tonight, the Lakers added 3 other players to join LeBron James. They agreed to a 1-year, $12 million deal with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope to bring him back to the Lakers. They agreed to a 1-year, I believe it's $4.5 million deal with Lance Stevenson, and then a 1-year veteran minimum contract for JaVale McGee. All right, Honi, what are your thoughts on the JaVale McGee signing?
All right. Let me tell you about my man, JaVale McGee. No, okay. So JaVale gets a really bad rep because of all the Shackton stuff. But I think he's a legitimately really good player for a veteran minimum deal that he's going to get. As a backup center, like he's going to give you a lot of positives. He's going to be a good rim roller, which you'd love to have with LeBron as the passer that he is. He's going to get you rebounds, and he's a pretty decent shot blocker at the rim. His defense in space isn't very good, so you kind of wonder how that's going to work with all the perimeter defenders on the Lakers and how Luke's going to figure that out. But I think he's kind of the perfect sort of like veteran guy that you want on a good team, and plus he obviously has a championship experience with the Warriors, and I don't think that can get understated. He's played in big moments, and he can kind of help the younger guys to an extent get to that. That position where they're comfortable playing it there.
Yeah, I mean, people, make fun of him, like you said, for all the Shackton stuff and just the bizarre things he does on a basketball court sometimes. Yeah. But he was legit good for the Warriors, especially in the playoffs. I mean, I think he understands his role, and like you said, Honi is a guy that is a good guy that can dive to the basket and catch lobs, which LeBron, can certainly throw to him, and Lonzo, and I mean just anybody really, because of his length, his size, his athleticism. You just throw it anywhere near the basket and he can go get it. And then defensively, for sure. I mean, there are problems, like you said, with the Lakers because they like to switch so much, and JaVale might have some issues there. But as a rim protector, the guy can definitely protect the basket with his shot blocking ability, and I mean. I've seen some people say it's a bad signing. Like, it's a 1-year veteran minimum deal. Yeah. I mean,
I don't think you can have a bad veteran minimum signing.
Unless it was Dwight Howard.
Yeah, you're right. I stand corrected.
That would be awful.
Touche, you win this round.
All right. We should just end the podcast now. But no, I mean, I don't have an issue with really any of these deals. Jacob, I mean, I guess, what are your thoughts on, I mean, if you want to add on JaVale, you can, but what are your thoughts on the other two guys, Lance Stevenson? It's amazing that him and LeBron are going to be on the same team after that playoff series where he's blowing in LeBron's ear and just all this other stuff. And then your thoughts on Kentavious Caldwell-Pope coming back to the Lakers?
JaVale I'm fine with. I mean, Honi touched on basically everything. I thought he played really well in the finals. For veteran minimum, he's fine. I mean, Honi and I talked about it a bit before we went live. I actually think him signing probably rules out Brooke Lopez. Um, Maybe it doesn't. Time will tell. But um, as for the other two, getting Lance on, it was the room exception is what we used to sign him on a 1-year deal. It does nothing to change the salary cap situation for us, and I think it's a solid signing. Um, the Lakers needed wing depth pretty badly, and Lance makes a lot of sense. He's a 2 guard, but he's kind of more of a ball handler. I think he'd fit well next to LeBron. He's kind of a combo guard in a way, but he's a decent. I mean, his percentages weren't great last year from 3. He can be a decent kind of 3-and-D guy. He annoys people. Like, that's always – he has kind of that Matt Barnes Meta World piece to him where he just kind of gets under guys' skin, which has a value to it. And he always plays with a ton of energy, which is always valuable, especially in a backcourt guy, a guy that's going to come off the bench. If it's a slow start, you throw in Lance to just kind of amp things up a bit and get things going and kind of feed off that energy. The KCP one, I was surprised for a couple different reasons. I was surprised they brought him back so quickly. I think this means I win between Honi and I, as we debated all year whether to bring back KCP or Brooke.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet.
I was surprised because, I mean, that contract effectively took them out of the Boogie sweepstakes, I guess. I mean, they can. You'd have to. It gets kind of tricky. Maybe they still meet with Boogie. Maybe they. I mean, there's a lot of things that could go on there. I was just kind of. I didn't think KCP would get that much money. And I was surprised they did it now and not. Maybe they were. Maybe it was part of the LeBron coming that they had to sign another Rich Paul guy. Maybe it was a thank you for coming this year and letting them talk to Rich Paul all year about LeBron. Yeah. Maybe they were feeling pressure from. I believe he met with the Clippers, and maybe they thought that they might lose him, and they needed to sign him now.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I said pretty much all year long. Somebody mentioned it to me on Twitter one day. I wish I would have remembered who, but I think KCP is really a guy that'll look a lot better next to a superstar. Yeah. He's really just kind of a 3-and-D wing, and he was probably asked to do a bit too much last year. I think he's fine as a 3-and-D guy to put next to LeBron. He can hit spot-up shots, play competent defense. He's probably not going to have quite as many ball-handling duties this year, more just shooting duties. And really, aside from – I should have pulled up the stats, but aside from the month that he had the whole prison issue, basically, he was a good player.
Yeah.
So I was fine with it. I was just a little surprised when it happened. That was the only deal that kind of stuck out to me. Like, I mean, there are ways to create more cap space. I have it pulled up. None of these none of these signings have really ruled out either Kawhi Leonard or Randall. As it stands now, they have, with Luol Deng on the books and Randall's cap hold, they have $2.2 million. If they renounce Randall and waive or stretch Luol Deng, they can get up to $23.6 million, which that itself would be enough to absorb Kawhi. I believe that's right about what his contract is this year. Or they can just include Deng in some way in a Kawhi deal, whether it's to send them to San Antonio or as part of a 3-team deal. They can do that, and still just keep Randall's cap hold and you acquire Kawhi and then can sign Randall.
Yeah.
So really the only two deals today that affected the cap space were LeBron and KCP because the other two are only going to be official after all the cap is like cleaned out. Like the room exception you can do whether you're over the cap or not, and you can always sign guys to veteran minimum. So neither of those deals really changed the cap space. So I saw some people on the timeline saying they signed 4 guys, Randall's done. I don't think Randall's done at all. I don't know if we're going to talk about him, but I think Randall's more important now than he ever has been.
Yeah.
So I don't think Randall's done. I think at this point, it'll just be really interesting to see what they do with Luol Deng.
Yeah, the Deng situation is really interesting to see if they'll push really hard to find a trade partner to take his contract. I mean, they might have to sacrifice a pair of 2 or 3 first round picks. Maybe a team like Atlanta or Chicago. Or, there's a couple of teams with a lot of cap space, but it's kind of slim pickings. But yeah, no, with these signings, I like all 3 of them for different reasons. We talked about JaVale and what he can bring. Lance and kind of his ability offensively. I mean, he's not a good defender by any means, but offensively, I mean, just his ability to kind of create offense for himself and for others. I think that'll help the Lakers because, I mean, the Lakers really weren't a good offensive team last year, and I think it was because they didn't have enough guys that could create offense. And Lance is definitely one of those guys that can create. And then KCP, I guess I must be higher on KCP than most people. I thought he was legit good last year for the Lakers.
Yeah, I'll pull up his numbers real quick. I have him, but yeah, he was. Yeah. I'm 100% with you.
Yeah, once that whole jail situation was taken care of, I mean, after that, he was honestly really good. I mean, got to the point where I think we talked about it on probably a couple podcasts about if the Lakers don't get Paul George, is he a good insurance policy? And I think we all agreed that he would be a good guy, to get. I mean, there's not a lot of other 2 guards really on the market that you're going to get similar value. I mean, maybe like a guy like JJ Redick, who's a sharpshooter. He's still a free agent, and there have been kind of some rumblings that the Lakers might be going after him. But I like the KCP deal. I mean, people look at the $12 million number, and I mean, that's $6 million less than last year. So the salary went down, but it's only a 1-year deal. I mean, this isn't hurting the Lakers long term. And this is a guy that's still only 25 years old. I mean, and like I said, I thought he was a good player last year for the Lakers. And I think obviously his role changes a lot because, I mean, in a lot of crunch time situations, the Lakers went to him to say, hey, create, for us, like, in a situation, for example, they're down 2 in the final seconds. There were a number of times where he was the guy that took the shot. Obviously, if he takes a shot now, it's probably going to be a wide open shot because LeBron creates it for him. But yeah, I think his role is going to change this year. He's not going to be asked to do as much, which is going to be important. And I mean, if he shoots the ball well, he has defensive ability. That's important. That's really important to have next to LeBron, those guys that can play defense and can shoot the 3 ball and space the floor. And then Lance as kind of a guy that's another creator off the bench next to guys like Josh Hart and Kyle Kuzma. Yeah, I mean, I like all 3 of these. I mean, I guess you could make a case with 2 out of the 3, maybe all 3, that they're kind of can be space cases sometimes. But I don't know. I mean, the Lakers have upgraded the talent on their roster tremendously in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
And that's important. That's important with, the young guys probably getting better next year. And, that could help them go a long way. I mean, who knows what their ceiling is. We're going to talk about that in a second. Jacob, you had KCP's numbers from last year.
Yeah. So, he played 74 total games in the 63 that December was the month where he struggled. The counting stats didn't really change much. He averaged 13.4 points on the season as a whole. But in the games not in December, he averaged 13.4 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. But it was the efficiency. He shot 43% from the field, 40% from three, 79% from the line, and it was a 58% true shooting percentage versus the games in December, he had a 47%. So I think it was, for a lot of fans, he played so poorly in those December games that, and really the whole team did. That kind of, for whatever reason, is what stuck with Laker fans. But in the rest of the games during the year, he was a legitimately good 3-and-D guy. And those don't come cheap. And it appears that the Lakers recognize it. I assume the league recognized it. I don't think the Lakers just went out and overpaid him off nothing. So to get a legitimate 3-and-D guy that shoots just shy of 41% from three, if you had told me that only cost $12 million, and I think he's younger than Clarkson. I think he's only 25, maybe 26.
Yeah.
To get that type of guy, I'm fine with it. I'm down with it. I think it was a good move to lock him up.
Yeah, I honestly love KCP being back. I think he's a perfect fit next to LeBron as a guy who can defend and space the floor. He's not going to have to do a whole lot. He's probably never going to dribble the ball ever again, which is perfect. And like you guys said, he played really well last year, and he's a young guy. And anytime you can do a favor to LeBron and Rich Paul, you basically got to do it. I'm not crazy about Lance. I don't really like his game at all. I don't think he gives you any spacing. His defense, even though like physically he's kind of a good defender, he's too much of a space case, like Gary said, to really contribute on that end of the floor very often. He's a decent playmaker, but like I don't feel that strongly about it. And the off the court stuff, I'm just not crazy about having Lance on my team. But as a 1-year deal, it's whatever. I can live with that because the Lakers signed LeBron James, so it's whatever.
They get a little bit of a pass in some within reason.
Real quick, I mean, this isn't what we're talking about. I was reading this as we were, as you guys were talking. Lee Jenkins just released a piece about LeBron's decision. I mean, the main things, he made a phone call to Kobe last night. He talked to Kobe over the phone and invited Magic to his house. Him and Magic met. LeBron told him that he was in no rush. He didn't have a problem being the first guy to walk through the door. And that it says he wants to build a contender that lasts. And then, kind of funnily, he ate breakfast this morning. After lunch, he gets on a plane.
That's not how that works.
Gets on a plane, flies to Europe. He's flying to Europe, him and his wife, for a couples trip. It says his advisors didn't even know if he'd pick a team before he left, while he was in there, when he landed, or if he returned. And it says James phoned Rich Paul as he was boarding the private plane and just said, "Call the Lakers." And that's how he committed to the Lakers. So
that's amazing.
I haven't read the whole thing yet. I was trying to get the juicy bits, but yeah, that's how it all came, and that is that's amazing. So yeah, he talked to Kobe and called Magic the other way around. Called Kobe and talked to Magic in person last night.
I'm gonna ignore the fact that you were not listening to us while we were talking and you were reading, just because that was kind of cool info. But I'm just saying, watch it, buddy. We did get asked a question in the live chat on what we think the Lakers rotation is going to look like. I think a lot of that depends on Julius Randle, on if he's going to come back. So save that question for when that is resolved. And I think the picture will be a little clearer, because the Lakers still at the center position. I mean, they have JaVale McGee, Ivica Zubats, and probably, Moritz Wagner. He's kind of a 4 and a 5. So they've got, 3 bigs already, but I think Randall is a guy that, has shown he can play center. Lopez is still an option. And then Nerlens Noel is considering signing with the Lakers. And then, there's some uncertainty, I guess, with Randall because of what David Aldridge said earlier. But the way he kind of worded it didn't make it seem like it sounded concrete.
It sounded very much like speculation.
Yeah, I kind of took it with a grain of salt because just the way it was worded didn't sound like there was a lot of confidence behind it in terms of like direct information.
And like I said this at the time, with all due respect to Randall, it really doesn't matter if he wants to be a Laker or not. It's not really his choice. Which, I'm not crazy about restricted free agency for this very reason, but it's the Lakers' choice if they want him, not his. So he can go. We saw it happen to Eric Gordon a while back. He didn't want to be in New Orleans. He went and signed an offer sheet, I believe, with Phoenix. He basically begged New Orleans not to match it, and they matched it, and he was stuck there for 4 more years. So, the same thing can play out. Randall can beg the Lakers not to match it, which I debate the validity of that report as well. But at the end of the day, the ball is in the Lakers' court.
Yeah, it's their decision. Yeah, and I don't know. I think it was like 2 weeks ago that Randall's wife posted on Instagram. She got him like a giant painting of him like in a Lakers uniform, holding his son on his shoulder, wearing Lakers gear. So it's like if a guy is that upset with the Lakers, I doubt she buys that for him. But
maybe she just wants Julius to stay in Los Angeles, so she's sending subliminal messages to him.
I don't know, man. All I'm saying is I've got my Julius Randle jersey, so like I need reason to keep wearing that baby, like and make it, make me happy and not every time I look at it get sad that he's on another team.
Remember when we were doing a podcast yesterday and I said I got to get a Julius Randle jersey and a LeBron jersey? Now I got to get a Julius Randle jersey, a LeBron jersey, and a JaVale jersey.
Oh, for God's sake.
We're going to start a GoFundMe for Honi's jersey purchases.
Hey, everybody, it was my birthday a couple of days ago, so if you want to be a real one.
Oh, man. All right. Before we start Honi's jersey collection, we're going to finish off this podcast by talking about how far we think the Lakers can go in the Western Conference. It's amazing how stacked the West already was, and now they just added the best player in the game. And I really wish the NBA would seriously look at going to a 1-16 seed with just taking the best 16 teams, because you'd probably have, maybe 11 or 12 Western Conference teams. But Honi, I guess with LeBron in the fold now and KCP, and the guys they possibly could bring back like a Julius Randle or go get a Lopez or re-sign Lopez or Noel, whoever. I guess just with LeBron in the mix now, what do you think the ceiling is for the Lakers in terms of where they could finish in the Western Conference next season?
Well, I do think the Western Conference is going to be super competitive next year. It was already crazy last year, but it got even better because LeBron is on a Western Conference team. All the other top teams in the West have basically stayed about the same. And then some of the bottom feeders, I think, have gotten better, like Dallas looks a lot better. Even you never even know with Phoenix, though I don't think they're going to be any good. Memphis is getting their guys back. But I do think if you have LeBron James on your team, that obviously just shoots your ceiling up all the way to the roof. Mm-hmm. And so to me, I think right now they're the third best team in the West. I think the Warriors are the clear best team. The Rockets, I think, are still, better than the Lakers. I do think losing Trevor Ariza was really important, and that's going to impact him a lot more than people would expect. Mm-hmm. But I think in terms of seedings, like the Lakers seem like the third best team. That said, in the playoffs, when LeBron is playing, full tilt and he's going all out, I could see them beating any team, probably other than the Warriors. So I think the ceiling of the team is like a Western Conference Finals.
Yeah. I mean, I can definitely say. I mean, like you said, the West is going to be super competitive. That it's going to be so hard to predict like standings, just because a team like Oklahoma City that finished fourth last year. I mean, they could be right back there. They could be third, second, or they could fall to eighth. I mean, there's kind of definitely a lot of parity in the Western Conference, just because it's going to be tough. Jacob, where do you have kind of the Lakers? What's your viewpoint on where they could finish or where they will finish? All that stuff.
So I'll start off. I grabbed Nate Silver for 538. They have something called the Carmelo projections, which is just basically how many wins they project each team to have. They gave kind of a very early one, in which the Lakers retain Randall and just keep the roster as is, which includes keeping Luol Deng. They had them at 52 wins. There's some thing like they're projecting Zubats to play 11 minutes at center a night, and they're projecting Luol Deng to play, and just a couple things like that. So maybe add a win or two. They also, I don't know how you would do it, but they also, if you add Boogie, basically replace Boogie with Luol Deng, it's a 57 win projection, but I mean, then we're getting into hypotheticals. But basically 53 wins, 52 wins. I think I probably agree with Honi that it's a third seed. I still would put them behind Golden State. I still would put them behind Houston, although I think Houston is closer to the pack than they are Golden State.
Yeah.
And I think really just kind of that pack of teams like we saw this year, how insanely close it was between, it'll be the Lakers this year, your Oklahoma Cities, the Jazz, the Thunder, the Timberwolves, Portland. I'm sure I'm forgetting teams. All the Spurs, maybe, depending on what happens there. All those teams are just going to be razor thin. But right now I see the three seed is probably the ceiling, which, as Honi said, once you get in the playoffs with LeBron, anything's possible, but I don't think that they will be able to beat the Warriors. So I guess, depending on how the seedings shake up, probably Western Conference Finals is the ceiling for this team right now.
Yeah, maybe I'm just being overly optimistic here. I mean, I think the 3 seed is probably the ceiling in terms of regular season standings. But I also think the Western Conference is as tough as it's going to be. I think it's also kind of wide open. Or it's a little more wide open than people think, because the Warriors are obviously the supremely talented team in the league, and there's probably a considerable margin to the second best team. But we also started to see signs of fatigue with them this year. And I think both physical and mental fatigue. Mental more so, I think, during the regular season. I think that team got bored pretty often in the regular season, which we've seen in the past with other championship teams like Miami and even with the Lakers with, Shaq and Kobe and Pau Gasol. So, I mean, and going to 5 straight finals is incredibly tough. I mean, getting to 4, is something, and trying to do it 5 times, that's really tough. And that's why I think I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State didn't win it all. I mean, obviously, I think they should be the clear heavy favorite just because of who they have, and they're obviously super experienced and can go through those situations. And I mean, they were down 3-2 to the Rockets this year, although the Chris Paul injury did help them. But I think you have to kind of weigh in that mental and physical fatigue of going to the finals 4 straight times and trying to do it a 5th time. So, I mean, I would keep an eye on that. And then the Rockets, I mean, we talked about it just a minute ago. Losing Trevor Ariza, I think, is a big deal for them. With his defense and his shooting, that's a big deal. I don't think they'll lose Clint Capella. He's a restricted free agent, and the Rockets would be dumb to let him go because he, fills a pretty important role for them. But the Ariza loss is a big deal, and you always have to be wary of Chris Paul's health, right? That came back to really bite them at the most critical time last season when they were one away from clinching a spot in the NBA Finals. And who knows if they would have won? They might have, they might not have. But you always have to be wary of that. And I mean, the same can go with every other team. I mean, health is always so important. There's going to be, unfortunately, there are going to be injuries. So anything can play out. But I also think the West, as tough as it is, I think there are a number of teams that could come out of that thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State got upset in the playoffs. I don't think, like I said, I wouldn't expect it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it happened just because, they might be kind of drained. But you could see other teams get better, like the Thunder. I feel like the Jazz are going to regress a little bit. But I mean, with Donovan Mitchell, he could get even better and they could be better. So who knows? There's a lot of kind of uncertainty because the West is so good and there's so many good teams, a lot of talent on that side of the league. But with LeBron James, I mean, like Honi was saying, you get in the playoffs, I mean, anything can happen with that guy. And I mean, the inexperience of the Lakers could hurt them in the playoffs, because they've got a bunch of guys that haven't been there, with their young guys. But I don't know. I think that the league is a little more wide open this year. The East is god awful outside of a couple of teams. But yeah, I mean, I've learned to not really doubt LeBron. So who knows? It'll depend on just how the gels, and I guess they round out this roster, perhaps with a guy like Julius Randle or whoever. But like I said, I think it's a little more open than people realize. I don't know if that necessarily means it's open for the Lakers, but possibly for other teams. So it'll be fun to watch.
As long as the Lakers know the time and score in the playoffs, they're an improvement over his last teammates. So it's a low bar. I think they can clear it. I'm pretty optimistic about that.
So basically, when the game's on the line, JaVale and Lance shouldn't be out there.
I was going to say KCP. KCP is honestly a pretty good bet for doing something really dumb in the playoffs.
Yeah, I could see that. So we'll just play Lonzo, Hart, Ingram, LeBron, and hopefully Randall.
Yeah, that works.
Perfect. We got that solved. And I mean, that may or may not have been a big deal. I mean, if JR, grabs that rebound and either kicks it out to LeBron, who was open at the time, or he just puts the ball back up and in, and they win game one, or if George Hill just makes a free throw, who knows if that changes that series? So, I don't know. All I know is, I mean, if LeBron stays healthy, I think the Lakers are a lock to be a playoff team, and they're going to end their playoff drought.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So, I mean, that's the most important thing is LeBron staying healthy. Hopefully the whole team can stay healthy for once. That'd be amazing. But we'll see. Summer League coming up for the Lakers. Preseason starts, I believe, September 30th. So I've definitely got that date circled. We get to see LeBron in action in a Laker jersey. I mean, even if the ultimate tease, I guess, would be for him to sit out preseason. But it's exciting times. Exciting times. There's a new king in Los Angeles, and LeBron James is a Laker. It is amazing to say. Never thought I'd be able to say it, but the Lakers landed their biggest free agent signing since Shaq in 1996, when I was 4 years old. So I remember it very well. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us this time. Wow, I'm just still amazed that LeBron's a Laker. Yeah, like I mentioned early in the podcast, you can subscribe to the pod on YouTube and on iTunes. And if you do it on iTunes, please leave us a review. That really helps us out, and it's always greatly appreciated. You can find all of our content on LakersOutsiders.com. We're going to be, we're only one day into free agency, so there could be plenty of things that still happen, and we're going to be all over it. You can follow us on Twitter at Lakers Outsiders, like us on Facebook. And like I said, we are selling T-shirts. We're going to have more designs coming out, but we got a couple out already. The link is in the description of the YouTube stream here. So definitely be sure to check that out. I want to thank everybody that watched the live stream. Those of you that might be listening to this on iTunes tomorrow when it comes out, I thank you. And then Jacob, Honi, I appreciate you guys coming on. Long day, exciting day, and good times that hopefully are ahead for the Lakers. And I'm just going to go out and say it now. The Lakers are back.
Yeah. I have a chain, but not the right chain. Lakers.
And that's how we're ending this thing. We're done. For Jacob Rude and number one JaVale McGee, Stan, Honi Ahmadian. This is Gary Kester signing off. We'll see you guys next time.
Just enjoying the fruits of my labor, I guess.